Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all the members of our panel for being here today. Dr. Kelly, you are head of environmental analytics, is that right? At what's the name of your company?
Resilience.
Resilience, okay. You're a PhD?
That's correct.
Where'd you do your work?
At the University of Cambridge.
Okay. If you were king for a day, doctor, and you were not fettered or constrained by any political considerations, can you just list for me, I don't think we'll have time for you to explain each one at length, but list for me the 5 things you would do, king, to make America carbon neutral by 2050.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. The first and most important thing is to decarbonise the energy sector. So I would remove fossil fuels from the economy as fast as possible and transition to renewable energy. I would then require businesses to disclose their financial risks so that the community can understand, investors and shareholders can understand what those risks are and make better investment decisions. I would then work with the international community to make sure that the grid around the world is decarbonised. I would also work on agriculture, move to agriculture and other sectors to make sure that we can...
Well, that's not very specific. Let me try it again. Give me the 5 things. You're king now, but for one day. 5 new rules in the United States of America, so we'll be carbon-free by 2050.
I would put in a rule to make sure...
You'd get rid of oil and gas. That's the first one. That was the most specific.
Require companies to disclose climate-related risks.
Okay, that's 2.
I would invest in new technologies to decarbonise industrial processes to reduce emissions.
Okay, and what's 4?
Work with international communities to...
Work with the community, okay. Is there another one?
And to work with political leaders across...
Work with political leaders, yeah. You sound like a consultant. All right, let's take get rid of oil and gas. And what would you replace it with?
Renewable energy.
What kinds?
Wind and solar, presently the most cost-effective.
Nuclear?
I'm personally not in favour of nuclear.
You don't like nuclear. Okay. How much will it cost and over what period of time do we have to get rid of all oil and gas and go to wind and solar?
So the good thing about wind and solar is that it's now more cost-effective than producing new...
Over what period of time would we have to make this transition?
Well, we need to do it before 2050 to get to the US.
If we do it for 2050, will we be... I'm trying to understand what it... Should I give up? Dr. Rose, can you give me, if you were king for a day, the 3 things you would do?
We'll start on something that you might find more attractive. I'd invest.
I'm not interested in
right. No, I'd invest.
But I've been to so many of these hearings
right.
where people come and talk about catastrophe, and you say, okay, what do we do about it? And you get nothing but nonsense. Right. So if you could give me, this is your chance, just 3 specific things, King, that you would do.
So I would invest in carbon capture and storage. I don't think we need to get rid of all fossil fuels immediately.
That's 1. Number 2.
Number 2, I would pass a renewable portfolio standard for the U.S., which calls for a shift to renewables and electricity generation. So I recently completed a study where the...
Don't have time. What's number 3?
I would pass a cap and trade bill in the U.S. to find the least cost ways of dealing with climate change.
Tell me how that would work.
You essentially place a cap on emissions, you give permits or allowances to entities, and you allow them to trade. That trading shifts the cost burden to the lowest cost entities. We found that that can save 70% of the potential cost.
The Senate hearing room grows tense as lawmakers press top climate experts on America's path to carbon neutrality. Senator Kennedy takes center stage, demanding clear, specific answers, not lofty ideals. The debate? How to make the United States carbon neutral by 2050, and most importantly, how much it will cost.
If you were king for a day, what 5 new rules would you put in place to make America carbon neutral by 2050?
Dr. Kelly responds with broad proposals: transition away from oil and gas, mandate climate risk disclosures, invest in new technologies, and push for international cooperation. Kennedy presses harder. Be specific. What rules would you make right now? Kelly narrows it down. 1. Eliminate oil and gas. 2. Require climate risk disclosures. 3. Invest in decarbonization technologies. 4. Work internationally on grid decarbonization. 5. Push political leaders for unified action. When asked what would replace oil and gas, Kelly points to wind and solar, calling them more cost-effective than fossil fuels. Nuclear energy, though cheaper, is dismissed by him personally. Senator Kennedy turns to Dr. Rose for clearer answers. Rose offers 3 steps. 1. Invest in carbon capture and storage. 2. Pass a renewable energy portfolio standard. 3. Implement a cap-and-trade system for emissions. Rose argues that cap-and-trade would cut costs by allowing industries to trade emission permits, driving efficiency while lowering overall expenses.
How much will it cost?
Rose suggests the transition might start at around $200 billion, roughly 2% of GDP, and eventually pay off through savings. But other experts hesitate, dodging
Entities, we found that can save 70% of the potential costs of dealing with climate change as opposed to passing across the board.
You put a tax on carbon?
Well, it's different than a tax because you can freely grant these allowances and then it's trading. So it's not a tax. It's different than a tax.
All right. How much do you think all this will cost? Your best guess.
I don't have a dollar figure, but the figure is a lot lower than what I've heard on this side of the aisle today.
Well, you think we ought to just do it and then worry about the cost?
No, I think we should do studies.
What's your, I mean, you advise the UN and you're at
Right.
USC, and that's a pretty good school.
Right.
What's your best guess about what it'll cost us to decarbonize by 2050?
Well, one thing I'd like to mention to the gentleman at Brown, that it's not the government paying this cost.
Yes, but could you give me a figure first?
I would say it might cost us 2% of GDP
Tell me
per year.
quantify.
So that's in terms of the U.S. to start, and that's a couple of $100 billion.
Couple of $100 billion.
To start, and then it'll level off.
Is that every
and
year?
eventually,
Wait,
I think
I don't
we'll
know
save
why I
money.
can't get straight answers, okay?
right.
Y'all want to
All right.
talk about the problem, but you never want to answer the question.
No, I've been answering it.
Well, no, you haven't. I'm just asking for a figure.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have a figure that it would cost to decarbonize by 2050? That's all I'm asking. Does anybody have one?
So my answer is you start out with $200 billion and you get down to a cost savings by 2040.
What would be the total cost by 2050, you think?
At most, a couple of $100 billion by 2050 over 25 years.
So you think we can totally decarbonize America by a couple of $100 billion?
Well, I didn't say totally decarbonize because remember I said carbon capture and
Neutral,
start.
you're right, carbon neutral.
Right.
Does anybody disagree with that?
That estimate is probably, is that a yearly figure, I'm assuming?
No, that's total.
Total,
That's
200 billion.
200 billion for the whole
For
package.
total with some.
Without concrete figures, bold climate proposals face an uphill battle in Washington. The debate over cost versus consequence continues, raising the question for every American. What price are we truly willing to pay for a carbon-neutral future? If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscriber button.